Morning, I'm KC. This is Keystone Curiosity, where we talk about all things unique to the state of Pennsylvania. I'm here with my father, Ken, and we're going to be talking about Gettysburg National Battlefield. Welcome to Keystone Curiosity, where we explore the life, land, and culture of my beloved home state. Pennsylvania has something to offer everyone, and is living proof that the world is a beautiful place. You just need to take the time to find it. Located less than 10 miles north of the Mason-Dixon line, the town of Gettysburg would become the site of the largest battle of the American Civil War. Brief disclaimer, this is a very simplified retelling of the events of these particular days. I'm going to be glossing over a lot of really cool details in favor of trying to talk about what you would see if you were to visit the park today. If you are more interested in some of the details and you're an avid history buff like myself, I did put together a short video of my father's commentaries on the sites that we saw, which I'll include a link to in the description also here. Happy birthday, Dad. By July of 1863, the United States had been locked in a bloody civil war for the past 2 years. Confederate General Robert E. Lee, the commander of the 70,000-strong Army of Northern Virginia, had hoped to break the resolve of the Union with an invasion of the North and cross the Potomac River in mid to late June. The Union's 90,000-strong Army of the Potomac, under the command of General George Meade, moved north in pursuit. On the morning of July 1st, 2 brigades of Confederate infantry had been sent to investigate reports of Union troops at the town of Gettysburg. The troops in question were in fact Union cavalry under the command of Brigadier General John Buford, who fought a delaying action on the ridges northwest of town. He successfully slowed the rebels long enough for the vanguard of the Union Army to arrive and push the Confederates back. Over the next few hours, both sides would commit more troops, until around 2:30 when the Confederates overran the Union flank on the northwest, causing them to retreat through Gettysburg, eventually rallying on Cemetery and Culp's Hills just south of town. Throughout the night, the rest of the armies arrived, and by the next morning, Meade had ordered his troops to take up defensive positions along the high ground along Cemetery Ridge, which, when viewed from above, resembled the shape of a fishhook. Meanwhile, General Lee had made plans with his commanders to attack the left and right flanks of this line that afternoon. The attack on the Union left nearly succeeded, as one of Meade's corps commanders positioned himself too far forward and was easily overrun by the advancing Confederates. The attacks on both flanks would ultimately be repulsed by reinforcements that Meade had ordered in to plug the gaps, with a particular episode of battlefield heroics occurring on Little Round Top. Here, Colonel Joshua Chamberlain and his regiment of the 20th Maine held the extreme left of the Union line. Twice the rebels ascended the hill, and twice the Mainers held them off. Chamberlain, recognizing his men were nearly out of ammunition, gave the command to fix bayonets. As the Confederates advanced upon the hill the third time, he personally led a charge downhill to meet them. The unexpected maneuver caused the rebels to rout and retreat, never to return. Both flanks had held, but only barely.
So General Lee had determined first 2 days that the Union was very strong on its left and right flanks, so that to him it meant it was a weaker point in the center, and they determined the battle plan would be to attack the center. But before the attack, they started an artillery barrage. It actually was the largest barrage in North America, over 150 Confederate cannons against a little over 100 Union cannons back and forth for about 2 hours. And the Union guns then went silent after about 2 hours. So the Confederate artillery commander decided that meant they were weak, and this was the time to attack. And Pickett started his assault across this mile stretch.
Over 12,000 men stepped out of the woods and into the open. As they advanced, the Union artillery, which had ceased firing to conserve ammunition, opened up. When they neared Cemetery Ridge, the Federal troops gave the Confederates everything they had. Rifles cracked, and the artillery began unloading canister shot, essentially turning their cannons into giant shotguns. And still the rebels pushed on. Through the smoke and lead, the tenacity of the Confederates was unequaled as they began firing back and charged directly into the Union line. Rifle and sword, bayonet and barehanded, the fate of a nation hung in the balance. Eventually, the Union line breaks under the pressure of Brigadier General Lewis Armistead's Virginians, but timely reinforcements pushed them back, mortally wounding Armistead himself as the remaining Confederates fall back across the field, defeated. In the days that followed the battle, nearly 9,000 bodies lay scattered across the grounds, with the task of burial and cleanup being left to the townsfolk of Gettysburg. The effort took around 3 days until the last known body was finally buried, during which many prominent citizens in Gettysburg had petitioned the state to set aside land in which to lay the Union fallen in a place of honor. Just over a month later, 17 acres had been purchased as the Soldiers' National Cemetery began to take shape, the site where President Lincoln would later give his famous Gettysburg Address on November 19, 1863. The cemetery would be transferred to the care of the federal government in 1872, and later would be expanded upon in 1895 as the battlegrounds around it became preserved as a national military park. The park today covers more than 6,000 acres, with efforts placed on restoring the land to its appearance as of the days of the battle. Over 1,300 monuments, memorials, and plaques are located all across the battlefield. These pay homage to the sacrifice and bravery of those who took part in the events of those days, highlighting the individual stories in far more detail than I can cover in these short videos. The National Park Service is continually upgrading the grounds to better tell those stories, and to enhance the experience of the over 1 million annual visitors that they receive. The Visitor Center proudly displays countless exhibits, photographs, and artifacts in its 22,000 square foot museum, and boasts a 360-degree cyclorama painting and a short 20-minute video narrated by Morgan Freeman. The center also distributes maps of the park, as well as organizing bus tours and an auto tour to guide you through the park in the comfort of your own vehicle. They also have information involving special events and reenactments, which are typically held on the weekends during the warmer months. These reenactors in particular hold a special place in my heart, as they form a large portion of the foundations of my love for history. If your idea of learning history is memorizing dates and names in a textbook, then it's no wonder why so many view it as a boring topic. But when a kid can experience a live demonstration of firing a cannon, and see the history taught by people passionate enough to become the embodiment of that history, it is a much more immersive lesson, and one that is not easily forgotten.
You read a lot. I was fortunate to have a very good history teacher when I was in junior high school. Prior to that, I hated history. And it was just a case of, he explained to me growing up in New England that history is what takes place under your feet. You often don't know about it. He explained it about, Lexington conquered Bunker Hill, and how these events took place right there, and it was just people dealing with their situations at a different time. Well, what better way to learn history firsthand than immerse yourself?
It is because of mindsets like this that I have gained the appreciation and curiosity for the history that has happened right under my own 2 feet, here in my home state. It's that same mindset that I wish to pass on when I make these videos and implore you to go and visit these places. Especially with Gettysburg sitting at just under 2 hours from either Reading or Lewisburg, and the plethora of information that the National Park Service has on their website, including the reenactment schedules and field trip opportunities if you're a school teacher, there's really no reason that anyone shouldn't take the time to learn the history here at these hallowed grounds. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. As per the usual, if you have any suggestions of where you'd like to see me go next, feel free to leave them in the comments below. In the meantime, hit that like and subscribe so that you can receive notifications about anything else in your Gettysburg or all across the state of Pennsylvania itself. But in the meantime, y'all have a good one.